New economic sanctions against Russia have been announced today by the Biden administration. We'll talk more about it later in the show.
And a landmark climate report tells us the world is in peril, but we still have time to fix it. I'll tell you more in my in-depth report.
A former top player in the world has decided to compete for a green jacket. Find out who in sports.
And things are heating up here in San Diego, but I tell you when we're expecting a cool down later in weather.
Newscene starts now. Hello, I'm Jillian Fortner, and welcome to this week's edition of Newscene, a broadcast produced by the students of San Diego City College. Every Wednesday, we bring you the latest news of the week. The college requires everyone to wear a face mask indoors, and that includes all of our crew here in our studio. We have an exemption for those of us on camera. We continue to follow all necessary local, state, and federal guidelines to ensure a safe environment for those back on campus. But we remain as focused as ever on bringing you the latest. We start tonight with President Biden announcing new sanctions today as the Russian attack in Ukraine continues. The move comes a day after President Zelensky addressed the UN. A warning, some of the video and images may be disturbing. Zelensky's latest plea comes as Russian troops pulled away from Kyiv, leaving behind devastation. A number of world leaders have accused Russian forces of committing war crimes in Bucha and other Ukrainian cities. This includes President Biden. Zelensky recounted in graphic detail the Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilians in his UN address. He says that Russians are killing Ukrainians just for their pleasure, and he said Russia should be removed from the Security Council. He also questioned the efficiency of the Council in their ability to provide security and peace.
What is the purpose of our organization? Its purpose is to maintain peace and make sure that peace is adhered to. And now the UN Charter is violated literally, starting with the Article 1.
And a new shelter in Tijuana is opening for people fleeing the crisis in Ukraine. An estimated 1,200 Ukrainian refugees are now living just south of our border. The city has turned a sports complex into a shelter that can house up to 300 migrants. The action is a temporary measure to avoid congestion at the San Ysidro port of entry. And the Biden administration is closer to lifting pandemic restrictions that blocked asylum seekers from entering the U.S. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the policy has allowed immigration officials to turn away more than 1.7 million migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. Department of Homeland Security officials say they expect the policy change to result in an increase of migrants and requests for asylum. The change is expected at the end of May. And it might not be much, but gas prices in San Diego are slowly trending down. According to AAA, a gallon of gas costs just under $6, a drop of about 11 cents in just the last week. It comes after President Biden ordered a release of 1 million barrels of oil from the country's Strategic Petroleum Reserve, making it the fourth time tapping into the reserve. Officials in Connecticut, Georgia, and Maryland have also paused their state gas taxes. And a new climate report is warning us about the future of our world. Josh, can you tell us more?
Thanks, Jillian. According to a landmark climate report, the time for action when it comes to climate change is now or never. That is among the findings in a long-awaited United Nations report published this week. The UN brought together the world's top scientists to evaluate our current knowledge of global warming and how to reverse it. The report concluded that the world is fast approaching the point of no return. This could mean more dangerous heat waves, floods, and storms worldwide. But amid these stern warnings, the report has concluded with an optimistic message. Wind and solar energy sources are now more economically viable than ever before. the cost of renewable energy is now competitive with coal and gas, and in some cases may be even cheaper. Many countries have increased the installation of renewable energy sources, but the high upfront cost has deterred some developing nations in adopting these alternatives. The report notes that the biggest obstacle is not the lack of an affordable replacement for fossil fuels, but rather politics. In some cases, money that developed countries have pledged to developing countries has dried up. At the same time, financing for fossil fuels remains high. In 2021, the US and the European Union announced a global pledge to reduce greenhouse emissions by nearly 30% by the end of this decade. China, the biggest greenhouse gas emitter, has yet to join this pledge. But there is a silver lining. 100 nations have joined that pledge so far. For Newscene, this is Josh Hernandez. Back to you, Jillian.
Thank you, Josh. We are feeling the effects of climate change with the heat this week. Estrella will have more about that later in the show. And the race for the South Bay's Assembly District 80 seat will move on to a runoff. Democrat David Alvarez received the most votes, with fellow Democrat Georgette Gomez coming in a close second in yesterday's election. Republican Lincoln Pickard came in a distant third. Because no candidate received a majority of the votes, Alvarez and Gomez will go on to a runoff election on June 7th to serve out the remainder of Lorena Gonzalez's term. And Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has all but been confirmed as the newest member of the United States Supreme Court. The official vote could come later this week. It's expected to end in her favor despite a 50-50 Democrat and Republican split in the Senate. That's because she's gained the support of 3 Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski, Mitt Romney, and Susan Collins, who all cited her experience and qualifications for the job. If confirmed, Jackson will be the first Black woman to serve on the nation's highest court in its over 200-year history. And the effort to unionize the nation's largest online retailer is gaining momentum. A new wave of organizing efforts are spreading after Staten Island workers voted to unionize. The move at the largest fulfillment center in New York is the first for Amazon. The company has expressed disappointment in the outcome and is filing a lawsuit to delay the union's progress. And we're expecting some hot weather in the next few days. Find out if things are cooling down soon later in weather. We'll be back after the break.
A Dog's Way Home is the story of the extraordinary lengths a dog will go to in order to get back to their family. Every year, millions of dogs and cats end up in shelters and rescue groups. We found our Bella at a shelter in Tennessee. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover they're all pure love. Adopt pure love and help a shelter pet find their way home at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to Newscene. It was recently announced that masks are no longer required in San Diego Unified Schools. This big change comes more than 2 years after the second largest school district in the state shut down due to COVID-19. Local officials kept masking in place a few weeks after California's mandate officially ended mid-March. San Diego Unified will continue to monitor COVID conditions and make changes to policies if needed. And San Diego City College is bringing a new spring production to the stage. The musical Urinetown will open later this month. The satirical comedy takes place in an urban dystopia with a ban on private toilets. Expect a lot of laughs and maybe a few toilet puns. Urinetown will run April 22nd to May 1st in the Seville Theater. For tickets, visit citycollegetheater.com. A mega music festival featuring some of the biggest artists is coming to the desert. Jesse, tell us more about that.
And the wait is over for music lovers. Mega festival Coachella is returning to the desert and kicking off this weekend with a new lineup. After a 2-year break from the pandemic, performers will be greeted by a sold-out sea of fans singing along their favorite hits. Over 125,000 will be on hand for the 2-weekend event. This year, Coachella will be featuring mega artists like Harry Styles, Billie Eilish, and Doja Cat. The last 2 are coming fresh off of wins at last weekend's Grammys. The festival is set to run this weekend, And next at the Empire Polo Club in Indio.
Watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high. I'm the bad guy. Baby, hold me, 'cause I like the way you move.
And the wait is over. Disney fans hoping to get a hug from Mickey Mouse and friends will soon get their chances again. Character meet and greet are back at Disneyland and Disney World starting April 18. You can once again get close to your favorite characters, getting hugs, high fives, selfies, and autographs. Disney is also planning to bring back the Main Street Electrical Parade and Fantasmic later this month. Back to you, Jillian.
Thanks, Jesse. Those character meet and greets make that Disney experience so much more magical. And just in time to celebrate spring, the 19th annual San Diego Restaurant Week is underway. More than 75 restaurants all over the county are featuring 2-course or 3-course options and discounted prices. Yet be advised, reservations are recommended in advance. The event runs through Sunday, April 10th. For the list of participating restaurants, go to sandiegorestaurantweek.com. Crowds have already been gathering to watch a fan favorite tee off at this week's Masters. Ash, tell us the latest.
Thanks, Jillian. Attention golf fans, Masters Week is finally here and it looks like a former top player in the world will tee off tomorrow. Tiger Woods says he's finally making his comeback 14 months after a serious car crash. Even his practice rounds this week at Augusta National drew massive crowds as Wood reminded everyone he is a fan favorite. And the 5-time Masters champion says he feels like he has as good as a chance as anyone to win a record 6th green jacket. Well, we'll see this weekend. Plays open tomorrow with the final round set for Sunday. Coverage begins at 11 in the morning on CBS. Moving now to here at City College, the men's tennis team has made it to the second round of the Southern California Regional Playoffs. The Knights advanced thanks to 5-0 victory over 5th seed Riverside yesterday. City players and coach Brandon Lupien are used to playing into April. The team has advanced to the postseason in each of the last 4 seasons. Next up, City will face number 2 Ventura College on April 12th. That's it for Sport Today. Back to you, Jillian.
Thank you, Ash. Congrats to the Knights tennis team. We wish you the best of luck in your next match. And in the western United States, the annual snowpack survey is out and it does not look good for California residents. This season's snow levels were the lowest in 7 years. This impacts the availability of water to residents in California for spring, summer, and early fall. State officials could respond with water restrictions to help the water shortage. And it feels like summer is coming early here in San Diego. Estrella, tell us more.
Yeah, Jillian, we've been getting some summer weather here in San Diego this week with the heat advisory going on until Friday. We also got those Santa Ana winds. That means stay hydrated, drink plenty of water because that means dry weather. But there's going to be a cool down by the weekend. Right, so let's take a look at what's going on here. It's pretty comfortable here on the coast, but if you notice inland mountains and deserts, it's hot. So make sure when you're out getting your groceries or shopping not to leave any kids or pets in your car. And then for tonight, sunset's going to be at around 7:12 p.m. It's going to be pretty comfortable with 56 here in San Diego and Chula Vista, 51 up in Oceanside, and 49 over there in Mount Laguna. All right, and like I said, with the heat advisory going on until Friday, here's a tip for those of you with dogs. If you place the back of your hand on the concrete for 5 seconds, if it's too hot for you, rule of thumb, it's too hot for your puppy's paws, so watch out for that. But then a big cool down going on, and starting on Sunday, going down by 20 degrees. And that's all I have for weather. Back to you, Jillian.
Thanks, Estrella. The next 2 days would be a great time to hit the beach. And that's all we have for this week's Newscene. This is Jillian Fortner. Good night.